So hello to everyone. Good evening, and thank you for joining us on our webinar on how to create a new digital income stream from Facebook challenges and birthday fundraising. So what we will cover today in our webinar is, first of all, we're going to be looking at some of the pain points and concerns that some of you might have around Facebook fundraising. We're also going to be taking you through the Facebook challenge fundraising model, the opportunities are to reach new committed supporters, and then we're going to end with an amazing case study from Cure Brain Cancer Foundation from Alex, who's joining us on the call. Throughout the webinar, the chat is open and some of my colleagues are in the chat, so please feel free to ask questions. However, we are going to have a full Q&A session afterwards. Great, so a little introductions first. So my name is Danny and I'm Head of Strategy and Development for Australia. At the moment, I'm currently based in Germany, but I'm moving back to Australia where I was born, which I'm super excited about very soon. And I'll be representing GivePanel out there. So GivePanel is essentially a platform, but also an extremely experienced support team that allows charities to better manage, communicate with, and retain and grow Facebook fundraisers. We work with over 300 nonprofits in over 15 countries. And my personal background is very much in donor acquisition. So I've run two of the digital acquisition programs, the social media digital acquisition programs at two of the Greenpeace offices. And I've also done a lot of consultancy work for UNICEF, International Rescue Committee in the UK and Germany, as well as some small organizations like the Scottish Wildlife Trust. And what's extremely exciting for me is that in April, we'll be launching in Australia, the GivePanel Academy. So this is something we already have in the UK, which is very popular with our customers. And it's to help the Facebook fundraising by giving support and peer-to-peer learning for everything from managing ads to Facebook group management to ideas for how to fundraise, steward. And included in this will be bi-monthly group coaching calls, peer-to-peer learning activities, expert support, monthly special topics, and also additional downloadable resources. So I'll just hand over to Megan for her intro.
Well, thanks, Danny. So I'm Megan and I work at More Strategic and I work alongside Karen Armstrong. We do a lot in the sector around supporter experience. So we jumped on Facebook challenges, I think, in the middle of last year, and we kind of kicked off with Alex and Simon. So it's kind of fitting that we're all on this call today. And we really love Facebook challenges because we're meeting supporters in the platform that they're already in. And we think that it just does a really great job of kind of creating communities and creating that connected experience and relationship with supporters. So that's kind of why we're really passionate about it. But yeah, I'll head over to Alex to introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Alex from Cure Brain Cancer Foundation. So I head up fundraising at Cure Brain Cancer, and I've been there for about 4.5 years now. So Cure Brain Cancer, we're the leading organisation for brain cancer research, advocacy and awareness in Australia, just as a bit of background. And we were the first charity in Australia to start using GivePanel and one of the first to run a Facebook challenge. So lots of information for you all to come.
Perfect. I'll just say I've seen a couple of raised hands. If you have any questions or anything, feel free to drop them in the chat and we can respond there. That might be easier, but we will have the full Q&A afterwards. Perfect. So I'll just go through, give you a little introduction to the Facebook fundraising side. So there's no other type of fundraising which is growing at such a huge amount. And there's already been 5 billion raised for charities. And you can see it's very much on this upward trend. However, we know that there are pain points and concerns from some of you. A big one that a lot of people have is this idea that there's a lack of donor data and visibility. There's also uncertainty about how to steward Facebook fundraisers to committed supporters. I hear sometimes there's a bit of a fear of saturation. There might be too many virtual challenges. And there's also an idea or confusion on if it replaces existing events or not. But these are all areas that we're going to help you address through this webinar. And if you get Facebook fundraising right, the opportunities really are huge. There's 60 million active Facebook users in Australia. By targeting through Facebook, you can easily tap into their existing networks. And also 9 out of 10 of the fundraisers who come to you via Facebook fundraisers will be new to your organization. So the first part of the sessions I'll be taking you through is around thanking. So how we can help you with the GivePanel platform to really steward and thank people who are coming to you via Facebook fundraisers. So I'm sure many of you have already seen people on Facebook raising money for their birthdays, in memory, or perhaps a special event such as a wedding. A lot of these come through organically, or they may be recruited by ads. And a lot of the times they're now going onto websites, charity websites, as a fundraise for us option. Like all Facebook fundraising, you require Facebook giving tools to have this active. So that's something that we really stress is a great process to start going through, is to start getting those tools set up. But with the Facebook fundraisers, what often happens is that the money goes into Facebook and it comes into your account, and people feel there's very little visibility. However, with the GivePanel dashboard, you really can have the tools that will be able to not only monitor and track the income from these Facebook fundraisers, but we also have very simple ways where you can then use the system to thank and steward them. So it really does solve that problem of their feeling that this is a bit of a data black hole. And this is just a very simple example of how it might work. So say someone set up a birthday fundraiser for you. Using the GivePanel system, you can then easily send them a thank you message. You can mark them as being thanked with a GivePanel, and you can also send them a very easy form so they can fill out their data. We found that this has a 23% increase in the amount of money they raised, and also 35% data capture. So these are people who are coming to you extremely organically, and you wouldn't really have much way to kind of contact them or to bring them into your system, but this gives you the way to do that. But where we're seeing the biggest growth on the area is around virtual events on Facebook. So that's what we're going to run through now for most of the rest of the session. So what is a Facebook challenge event? Facebook challenge is essentially a virtual event that's managed via Facebook. So people are recruited by Facebook ads and they undertake the challenge in their own time. So this is everything from 300 squats a day in March to, I've seen an arthritis charity do a really great knitting challenge. And what this means is there's obviously very low acquisition costs. You're getting more fundraisers because there's not a limit of how many people can partake in the challenge. And you're also reaching brand new audiences. And this is the challenge funnel that that most of our partners work with. So I'll just take you through that. So essentially you use Facebook ads to target people. And then in the ads, this takes them into what we call a lead form, which is a very simple advert, which has basic data capture. But the main point of the lead form is really to drop them into the Facebook group. Once they're in the Facebook group, we then usually invite them to register for the event, such as with a t-shirt. That's a great way to get your brand out there as well. As if they register, they'll also get a t-shirt in the post. And then 70% of those register and you'll get that data capture. And then from that, about 37 to 38% will then set up a Facebook fundraiser. The amount that people raise in these Facebook fundraisers varies quite hugely, but usually they can be very large amounts. And that's something that Alex will talk about in her section. So why use Facebook groups? So as you can see from our funnel, the Facebook group is very much an integral part of it. The reason that we encourage this focus on Facebook groups as part of the model is that we've tested it many times and it's proven to increase average amounts raised. There's also very high engagement rates. So people are used to checking their Facebook several times a day. So any posting that you do on there is going to be very easily seen by your supporters, your challenge participants. And it's also a great way to harness the power of the newsfeed. So if you're a member of any group, you'll know that if someone posts within your group, you're definitely going to see that post on your newsfeed. And another big advantage of having all your challenge participants in a Facebook group is that it's super, super easy to moderate. So a big, big advantage of this model is that it really does help you reach new audiences. So you can reach communities, age groups, places that your in-person challenge events might not be able to. And it's also a very new proposition for your ads. So it is a very, very untapped audience in Australia. So we've been doing this for years in the UK. We'll have many, many challenges running at the same time, sometimes on the same theme, and yet there hasn't been like an effect of saturation. In Australia, this is very new. And even if you're a charity that has like a very wide reach in advertising, this is a nice way to give another string to your bow, to kind of give a new proposition that might attract people that your other adverts aren't being able to reach. And it's also a great way to grow your brand because it's all centered around Facebook. Your challenge participants really are going to promote your brand to their friends and family very easily. And the way that GivePanel can help this, not only do we have this support team, and we'll have the academy as well that can help you guide you through, but our platform also has great reporting systems, which means you can track how the challenge is going. So you can see how many people register for the event, how many people have signed up, created their fundraisers. This is some new reporting that we're also building in RAT as well, which will look at things like the average donation amount, the cost per fundraiser, so you can plug in your advertising costs. We're always working to constantly improve the dashboard to make it as easy as possible for you to monitor the success. And this is all of this work is also really helped by our partner organizations. So if you need any support, whether it's from planning the initial challenge to the Facebook ads, like the setup and the management, to FB group management, or also ideas around long-term donor stewardship, we have partners that can help you do that. These slides will come around, so you'll be able to have a bit more detail on each of our partners. So we have Flat Earth, Digital Ninjas, and Elevate Fundraising. And I know some of you on the call, so thank you for joining us, who are really, really great. And definitely we're working with quite closely to help this work for our charity partners. At that point, I'm now going to segue to Megan.
Awesome, thank you. So I said before, I work at More Strategic and we've partnered with GivePanel since I think the middle of last year. So I thought what would be useful is to kind of set the scene of what's been happening in Australia. So we've been lucky enough at More Strategic to work with 4 different charities. And in total, there's been 5 challenges in Australia. So there's 3 that are currently live and they're kicking off in March. And there's actually 1 charity that's doing their 2nd challenge at the moment and they're continuing to kind of smash their goals. So it's really exciting to see. So these are kind of some aggregated figures. So there's been nearly 20,000 new leads acquired on Facebook and we're currently sitting at a $2.20 cost per lead across the charities. So I think that's something we're really kind of stoked with and quite proud of here in Australia. So I think Danny, on one of the slides you mentioned, I think it was around $1 to $4 for a cost per lead. So it's really awesome to see that it's kind of remained low and some of the charities we're working with are as low as like $1.80 at the moment, which is great to see. We've sent over 10,000 t-shirts. So t-shirts are integral parts of Facebook challenges. And it's no mean feat to send out 10,000 t-shirts for charities because merchandise is, it's a mean game and can be quite of a headache, but it's really important. And as you'll see in those groups, it's really just like it's kind of a way to kind of connect supporters and it's kind of great to see everyone out there in their t-shirts. We've had 4,000 people fundraise and that's 4,000 people with more than $1. So that turns out to be about a 30% activation rate. So that's something I do think in Australia, we've got a bit of room for improvement on. I think GivePanel's benchmark across the UK is around 38%. So it'll be really interesting to see if we can get that up a little bit more, kind of what money we can make. And I was really hoping we would have reached 1 million, but we're at 900,000, but I put and counting because we have those 3 challenges that are live. And what we tend to see is that fundraising really starts to peak when the challenge kicks off. So I'm sure from March, we'll definitely be at that 1 million. So yeah, so that's the benchmarks. And what's something that's been really great in Australia, and Danny, you kind of mentioned this about what makes Facebook challenges and the group so special is the engagement. So what Facebook does is they consider an active group member as someone that's commenting, liking, or posting in the group, and they say an active group is around 80%. So we've looked at the 3 challenges that are live at the moment, and you can see in this graph that all 3 challenges, their group engagement rate is over 90%. So I think if anyone's interested in kind of running a challenge, the best thing you should do is join one of these groups because you kind of have to see it to believe it. They're very committed, they're very engaged and they're quite loud in there. So my Facebook feed is just full of people posting, which is fun. And what I'd also thought I'd do is I'd pull out some key successes. So at More Strategic, we're loving the Facebook groups and we're hoping the charities are as well. So some of the benefits of these groups is that it's really a simple way to engage with your audience. So this is an example from Red Kite. They've literally just asked if this is your first time doing a crunch challenge and they were able to get over 150 comments. So people are just commenting below and it kind of starts to open up that 2-way dialogue and really starts to move people from kind of passive communication to active. And that's something we love at More Strategic. And the second example is actually from one of Alex's challenges that she ran last year. And they did an awesome job at kind of getting people in the group that were cause connected. And it became this really supportive community where people were sharing their stories and connecting to others on kind of their similar personal experiences that they went to. And that's a testament, I think, Alex, to your high average funds raised, which I'm sure you'll get stuck into. Another thing about Facebook challenges that I really love is the pace of them, and it's really important to be reactive. So Canteen do an awesome job at this. When they see a question being asked, they jump on it and they get really creative with their content. So they're getting quite a few people say that their t-shirts run large in the sizes. So what they did was they put together a nice explainer video to go how to style an oversized shirt. So it just shows that it's not like an email that needs to go through a long process of approvals. You can really be reactive. It can be having fun with it and kind of be creative. And the last one we love at More Strategic is insights and the way to get feedback. And the Facebook groups do this really easily through polls. So this is just a simple question asking people how they're going to kind of participate in the challenge. And from there, you're able to quickly kind of tailor your content and respond to people. So you could even do things like, what's your connection to cause? Or I know, Alex, I think you asked your group what challenge they'd be most interested in doing for the next one. So you're actually constantly using customer insights to kind of shape the challenge, which we really love. And then I thought I'd also chuck in some user-generated content. So these are some examples that I've seen recently. The first one is someone did a bake sale. So they got their husband to send some baked goods into their work, and they raised about $50 in gold coins, and someone was nice enough to chuck them a $5 note. And what they'll do is they'll go add them to their Facebook fundraiser. And it just shows that at the heart, this is still community fundraising. So you can still use all your traditional tactics. It's just another way to kind of reach people on Facebook, and they can kind of make it what they want. The second one, which is kind of hard to see, but this is a group of joggers in a jogging challenge. They've just gone off their own back and created a Strava group. And I had no idea how serious and committed joggers are, but they've essentially gone and created this more smaller, tight-knit community in the group that already exists, which is awesome. And there was 96 people just off the back saying that they wanted to be a part of it. And then the last one, I couldn't help but put a dog in this webinar. So this is a dog wearing a t-shirt, because I think that's just gold. So again, it really lets charities have fun with their supporters, try different things, and it's a really big test and learn, and just kind of a really nice place to be in, I think.
Yeah, on the dog, I did see that the Dogs Trust in the UK, as their incentive, they use a dog bandana, which was
it's great.
cute. Yeah.
I'm just waiting for someone to be able to do a dog walking challenge. So if anyone's keen, I'm ready. So what can we offer you? So I'll go just through some of the practical stuff that we've been helping charities with. So the first is what we suggest we do a kickoff workshop. So Facebook challenges, we do say to our clients, you've kind of got to unlearn some of your traditional fundraising tactics. So we think it's really important to bring charities, internal stakeholders all into the same room and kind of run through everything that you need to know. So what we do is we provide step-by-step instructions on how to run a challenge, and then also how to acquire participants. We set your challenge goals, so we help you set KPIs. We develop your challenge concepts. We've got some great insights into what audiences kind of levitate to which challenges. And then we also, which we spend a bit of time on, is looking at how to learn how to manage and activate your Facebook groups. So that goes into moderation, into content, and then that's what I think is really important about these challenges. We then have two different packages. So if you signed up for us to do the basic challenge package, we provide you with templates and content frameworks. We're big believers in enabling charities. So we really want to give you the tools that you can kind of go off and run with it and really kind of lead from internally. We do Facebook fundraising benchmarking. So that's where all the benchmarks I showed before. And that really helps charities optimize and kind of work out where they are, what levers they need to pull. And then we also do ongoing weekly support and check-ins. And then if you need a bit more hands-on help, we do offer Facebook ads implementation and journey development. So whilst a lot of engagement happens in the Facebook group, we're always trying to get charities to kind of think beyond that and kind of look at the multi-channels you can kind of add on top of that. So whether that's conversational SMS, phone calls, or just like an email journey, there's always kind of things we can do to enhance average funds raised. So lastly, I think Danny, you touched on this, and this is something that's awesome about Facebook challenges, but 9 out of the 10 challenge participants are new to the organisation, and the 2 challenges that ran in November last year saw similar ratios, so that was great to see. But what a bit of an issue is that we know retention in P2P events especially is quite low. So normally we see around a 20% retention rate for people to come back and do the event year on year. So what we know is that if you're getting people in at a low cost, they're fundraising for you, how good would it be if they could actually become lifetime supporters to you? And our partner in the UK, More Strategic, and they covered a webinar with us last year. Julie Roberts ran through some of the retention tests she's been implementing. So they've been looking at how to convert their challenge participants into regular givers, and they're currently sitting at about a 5% conversion rate, which is really good. And they saw, I think it was something like 25% of people that raised over $1,000 actually went on to become a regular giver. So the amount someone raises is a really good indicator into like if you can get them to convert later on. They've also done a few other tactics. They've done SMS to donate campaigns and also shop conversion. And they've kind of had less results, but it's still good to kind of add that into the mix. So we're currently running this approach with an Aussie charity. The results are pending from about May this year. So we're really excited to see how that goes. But if you were going to look at this with us as an organisation, what we first start off with is a post-campaign survey, just to kind of understand who these people are. You don't get much data from Facebook, so we really want to try to dig in to work out what their motivation is and their connection to your cause. We then look at the kind of attitudes we need to shift. So if someone comes in and does a challenge, we know that we need to get them to be kind of a fan of yours and in their kind of top, at least their top charity or their top 3 to kind of get you to convert into a regular giver. So we kind of work with you as a charity to design a journey where we think we need to take the supporter, so that the end goal is that they're kind of your favorite and they kind of love you. And we then kind of put them onto telemarketing calling, which we can then also help you with, and also we provide in-house support and implementation. So a lot of this is designed around setting them onto an engagement journey, sending them through to telemarketing and seeing how we can convert them. So hopefully some good signs we'll see in May, because I think that'd be awesome.
Sorry, I went a bit early.
No, no, you had it all good.
Okay, so I'll hand over now to Alex to take us through the case study.
So I thought I would just sort of do 4 basic rules of setting up your first challenge, just to keep it really simple. So the first one, it's all in the name. So choosing the name of your challenge. So literally just the name of the challenge is what the activity is, the number of reps, and in what month. So we did 1,500 burpees in November challenge. We did add, we'll touch on the ads a little bit later and about the audience and things as well, but we also used burpees for brain cancer, for our Cure Brain Cancer audience. So anything we posted on socials, we did use that for people that already had a connection to cause, and it kind of made a little bit more sense. Number 2, it's about the challenge, not the cause. So this was a huge relearning. I think it's not what fundraisers generally think about, even just organizations as a whole. It's always cause first and the challenge second. But for this, it's definitely challenge, not the cause. And I think it's definitely, when you're looking at getting internal buy-in, this is one of the biggest sort of hurdles to overcome. We didn't have a lot of cause-related information on our ads. We didn't have it front and center when people joined the group. It can be difficult, and I would just say be prepared for more questions about why this is the case. You know, have maybe some examples from other challenges that have happened, you know, when you're presenting internally around why we should do something like this, and it will really help. Work differently and celebrate milestones, and then throughout the group you can start to drip feed the cause throughout the month of the challenge to convert your fundraisers to supporters as well. Number 3 is one-click fundraising is your friend. We'll talk about in a moment about ads and actually getting people into the group, but I just wanted to touch on one-click fundraisers, which is such a cool thing about Facebook and GivePanel. So when people register for the challenge, they're taken to a form, so you can customize it, capture whatever data that you'd like, and then it takes you through to a one-click fundraiser to create your page, and it literally is that easy. The page is created, it's shared to their audience instantly, and it's honestly one of the key reasons why it's such a good platform, because Facebook already has your details and it's so easy for the fundraiser. So it's really easy. I'll keep saying easy because it is. And number 4 is incentives are key. So as Megan touched on, incentives are a huge part of the challenges. And I'd say this is a pretty big item to plan ahead of time when considering setting up your challenge. So part of the model provided by GivePanel is to provide an incentive to everybody that registers. So we had t-shirts and posted one out to every member who actually registered for the challenge. We have used incentives previously, and I'll admit I was hesitant at first to these not being linked to a fundraising milestone, which is what we do for other campaigns, but it does actually work. So we did have some shipping delays, thanks COVID. So we didn't get our t-shirts out to our fundraisers until I think the beginning of the second week of the challenge. And you could really see an uplift in fundraising as soon as people started receiving them. So people are posting in the group saying, I just received my shirt, and then that starts conversation and engagement, and it just made such a huge difference. So even if, you know, whatever it is you choose to use as your incentive is slightly delayed, don't worry, because it does make a difference regardless. Yep, thank you. So ads are another re-education process as well. So we ran 6 different ads across 3 weeks, all with various wording and imagery just for testing. The audience for these ads are pretty much as broad as you can get. So our audience was 18 to I think 75 across Australia, and that was literally about it. So we didn't add any lookalike audiences or target people who like our page and their networks. It's literally just as broad as possible in order to get a whole new audience. The other thing which you can see on the slide here is that they're not really overly branded. Again, this is a challenge first, cause second, and you can see with these 3 images that we didn't have any cure brain cancer focused wording. It was all about the challenge. These 3 ads performed the best for us. And the biggest lesson we learned from the ads is that it's all about the lead gen form. So this was brand new to me, brand new information. And we did it wrong in the first 5 days. So we didn't get as many people in the group at first. And we're like, what's going on? Like, why is this a bit slow? And then we set it up correctly. And this is literally just where people input their details. So name, email address, and then they get a link to join the group. And it's such an important piece of the puzzle that once we had it right, we saw incredible numbers joining the group and our engagement soared. These challenges aren't just about your core community. It's also about engaging a brand new audience to your cause as well. So as previously mentioned, having spoken to GivePanel, they were reporting stats of around 80 to 90% acquisition rates in the UK. So we fully expected to only have a few fundraisers with a connection to cause taking part. But that was not the most of the case. We had a lot of incredible people taking on the challenge with a connection to cause. However, the majority were not on our database. So for example, just on the left here, on the right here, Edmundo, he was our top fundraiser and he raised over $20,000 for us. He wasn't known to us previously. He wasn't on a database. We hadn't had any communication. His partner has brain cancer, and they both shared their story on the group and on social platforms to raise awareness. They're now a case study for us in our upcoming inspiration series, and are looking for other ways to engage moving forward. So it's pretty exciting to see these people that we otherwise wouldn't have reached, even if they do have a connection to the foundation. So this group itself, if you just go back just one slide, sorry. So the group is the most important part of the challenge. So it's where you engage and motivate people taking on the challenge. So once they're in the group, that's where you can start to push them to sign up, to create their fundraisers, build the challenge momentum, celebrate fundraisers, and everyone else starts to talk about the challenge itself, how they're feeling, sharing stories, showing videos of them doing burpees once it all begins. We had about just over 2,000 people in the group, of which 1,100 took part in the challenge, which is pretty good. And as Megan sort of touched on, things that worked well were things like fundraising milestones, supporter stories. We did a fundraising Friday, which kind of wasn't particularly glamorous. All we did was tag people, our top 10 fundraisers, and it just encouraged people to engage. It encouraged people to sort of go out and get donations if they didn't have any. It just acted as a bit of an incentive as well. And then other things, as Megan mentioned, things like polls, asking people, how did you get your first donation? How ready are you feeling for the challenge? What should the next challenge be? And that sort of got a lot of engagement as well. And just the plain background with text posts, asking people where they're from, how they were finding the challenge, that sort of stuff. It just worked really well. So top tips. Get as much set up as possible before the launch. So plot any milestones, schedule any key posts, like you're halfway through, you've only got 500 left, really simple stuff that you can just prep for ahead of time, because it'll save you time going forward. Get a bank of posts ready to go. So key milestones, we did burpees, and we had a few videos about different ways that you could modify a burpee. If you didn't want to do the push-up, or you didn't do the jump, or whatever it might be, we had a few different modifications as well. So just making sure that you've got that sort of stuff ready to go. Engaging with top fundraisers and those with a connection to cause early on. They will be your champions in the group. So asking them to share stories in the group if they're willing to share their connection. Share on the brand page. There's an opportunity to engage these top fundraisers outside of the group as well to help with engagement. And also asking them to comment on other people's posts. So if people are putting videos of them doing a burpee, like asking them to be the ones that are saying, well done, you're doing awesome, you know, that sort of stuff as well, just to kind of increase that engagement. So it's not just staff that are always commenting. Don't worry about overlaying a Facebook fundraising virtual event over key campaigns. It's a completely different audience. So we came just off the back last November of our Walk for Brain Cancer event, which is our flagship campaign. And I was a little bit cautious going from one very heavily promoted event straight into another campaign, but honestly, it didn't make any difference. It was such a different audience. We went just targeting our community in the way that we were for Walk for Brain Cancer. So I wouldn't be too worried about sort of overlaying it over your other campaigns. Be as planned as possible when managing the group. So we had a little schedule, a little roster internally around who's looking after the group, who's doing the comments on the day versus who's doing the data in the back end of GivePanel, and matching fundraisers and making sure that all of that is working. And it just made everything so easy throughout the challenge, rather than it being, okay, who's doing this today? Well, actually everyone knew their days and we could just do it. And make it fun. So engage with your audience, just make it a fun challenge, because I mean, we did 1,500 burpees in November and it was really hard. So people need some encouragement and some fun just to kind of push through as well. So make it fun. And then just my last slide is just about what's next. So we're getting ready to launch our next challenge next week. So we're doing 100 squats a day in April. As someone pointed out to me, we missed a trick with 100 squats a day in May, but that's fine. So we're launching on the 1st of March, but we're also planning on holding another one, launching in May with the challenge taking place in June. So we've got another 2 challenges up to the end of the financial year, and then we'll look at planning for next year too. We are going to be overlaying it over other campaigns, as I mentioned. So this is going to be a brand new line of revenue for us. So that's how we're treating it as well. And we're excited to look at creating our journey for our Facebook fundraisers. So these people that come off the challenges, what's next? How else can we engage them? How can we connect them to the cause and keep them on the journey with Cure Brain Cancer Foundation? That's me.
That was great. Thank you so much. So we'll open up to the Q&A. I'm just going to stop my share so you can all see us properly. Great. So there's a question in the chat, which I'll just answer first before I go to Q&A. I'm interested if anyone's tested Facebook lead gen forms with a landing page lead gen form and whether they notice a difference in quality and quantity. So most of the tests that we've done on the lead gen forms has been very, very simple. It really is just a very simple data capture. It's one that built completely within Facebook. So it just asks for the email address and the name. And then it's really about to knock you into the group. That's the main, we want to make that journey as easy and as quick as possible. So there have been some testing around it and to use it to kind of filter people out. But generally, you just want to get as many people in the group as possible, I would advise. Great. And now I'm just going to open the Q&A. So how does Facebook Charity results compare with the charities running their own peer-to-peer fundraising campaigns on a website, e.g. the Great Cycle Challenge? So would anyone in the team like to take that? Maybe Alex, you've got a bit more experience in that area.
Look, I mean, it depends on also your marketing spend as well. So we very much, Walk for Brain Cancer is what I can kind of compare it to, which is our flagship campaign, which this year is like $40,000 shy of 2 million. And I'm determined we're still going to get there, but that's fine. So, the marketing spend that we have on something like that versus Facebook fundraising, you can't quite even compare it at the moment, like it's not there yet. Maybe it will get there. And, maybe you have some examples from the UK, but, it's just a very different spend because it was a pilot. It's one of the first ones we've done in Australia. We didn't know how it was going to go. So we kind of started small. But maybe you have some examples of the UK where they've raised more, but that's sort of where we came from.
Yeah, we've definitely had charities that have been in that million mark in the UK. So one of them was the Dogs Trust, which I talked about. but also some big health charities. So it definitely can get to that level. And I think one of the key things is this idea that it is getting you to a different audience, which I mean, I personally would probably never do like an organized challenge because I don't trust myself to like get ready on the day and everything, but I would do a Facebook challenge. So it does open you up to new people who are going to do something a little bit different. Another key thing I would say as well, that it also, with those events where it's quite a hardcore challenge, a lot of the time you're going to be speaking to people who've done them several times. And that can mean that they've already exhausted their fundraising network a little bit. Whereas if it's a challenge someone can do in their own time, it's a little bit easier. Then you're going to reach people who haven't done that fundraising type before. Great. And the next question is, can you tell us the advantage of onboarding with GivePanel versus using Facebook charitable giving tools? I mean, from my point of view, it's definitely the ease. And what Alex talked about a lot was the custom fundraiser link, which is incredibly easy. The way that you can get your fundraisers to click this one button and they can go through a process to set up a very nicely branded fundraiser that's going to go directly into the GivePanel system. And then you can see them there, you can thank them very easily, you can see all their total income. That's something that you're just not going to be able to get with the charitable giving tools. Alex, would you like to add to that maybe as a personal experience with it?
Yeah, sure. I mean, look, I did a presentation at the beginning of last year, and even though we've been fundraising on Facebook, I realized we didn't even have charitable giving tools. So I would say the first thing is make sure that you have that just generally, so that people can, find you easily, and you can sort of get a few different things within that, which is really useful. But it's kind of like chalk and cheese. Like in my head, you can't have one without the other, because, you kind of have the social tools, but then you also need to be able to see those data insights and to be able to get that data into a form that you can look at and sort of work with, which you don't quite get from Facebook in its current functionality. So, yeah.
Perfect. So then we've got another question for you, Alex, which is, how did you manage resourcing for the Facebook challenge group over the weekends?
So it was pretty ad hoc, to be honest, and we had a lot of scheduling throughout the week. To be honest, though, it wasn't. We might have commented a couple of times on the weekend, but there wasn't like a flurry of activity. I'm trying to remember if there was anything that we had that we needed to jump on, but I don't think so. Look, you could very much just schedule it. If there was someone I was talking to who was saying that they actually just had a rule and they put it in the group that the group wouldn't be monitored, so like over weekends, so to make sure you were sort of asking questions either during work hours or in work week evenings. So I think there are a few different ways that you can do it, but we didn't have any wild comments or anything. Everyone's out doing their own thing on the weekend, so there wasn't a ton that we had to jump on, so it wasn't too bad.
Megan, do you have anything to add about groups that you've been working with?
I just say shifts, so just kind of chunking it down to like someone checks in 15 minutes at the start of the day, in the middle of the day, and the end. And also I think you're always on Facebook, so like even on the weekend you're checking in, so it's more, I guess you're kind of already doing it and you don't really feel like it's extra work a lot of the time, and a lot of it is just kind of commenting and liking, just emojis. It's not really like big issues that are happening that you're having to moderate. So I think yeah, I don't think it's been as big as a issue here in Australia.
Great. So we do have a question about Fundraising, which is a similar platform that's being brought up, and how they're offering and how is it different to GivePanel. I personally haven't seen that much of their platform, so I can't comment on the capabilities. My understanding is that it's very much a platform, so there will be some similarities, but the advantage of GivePanel is that we are in a way more than a platform. So we have this huge length of experience of working in the UK on challenges. We have lots and lots of case studies. I think we've worked in like hundreds of challenges, so we have feedback and across many different causes. And also we have the academy as well. So this peer-to-peer learning and support for each other is something that we really think sets us apart. Great. We've got another question for Alex. So how many staff members do you have managing the Facebook group?
Sure. So we were, the first time we did it in November, we were team of 4, and we kind of very much managed it between the 4 of us. But I would say that you could definitely do it with less, but we were very much more just learning together. So kind of, hand holding each other a little bit and just kind of making sure that, we were kind of tackling things together. For the second challenge, there'll probably be 2 staff members that take shifts throughout the week that manage the group. Like I say, it was more because it was the first challenge that we did that we sort of were a very tight-knit team, so we were kind of managing it all together. But going forward, it'll be around 2 people that would be taking the shifts. But it does depend on how busy the group is also. We had just over 2,000 people in the group. And obviously not all of those are active as well. So it depends on how big the group is. If it was more and there was more things going on, maybe Megan, you can talk to that with experience from bigger groups, but we found it okay.
Yeah, I'd agree. I reckon 2 is kind of the sweet spot. I think if it falls onto one person, it's a lot and can become quite tiring and tedious. But I think definitely have 2 whose roles are kind of looking at that. And then also you'll have other people and staff members in the group as well that kind of take the load. And also we call them kind of Facebook group champions. So friends, family, volunteers that you can kind of be in there that can kind of help out as well. So definitely doesn't always have to fall on one person.
Yeah.
Great. There is also, as I mentioned before, we have partners as well. So if this is something, a big concern around managing the Facebook group and community management, there's always partners that we can help you pair with to handle that. Great. So that's all of our Q&A. Are there any more questions before we finish up? I think we're almost bang on time. No more questions from the group? In that case, thank you so much for joining. We'll be sending around follow-up with the recording, also slides, and we've also got a full case study from Alex, which will be really, really nice for you to see, to go into much more detail. And feel free to reach out to us at GivePanel at any time. We're here to answer your questions. We can give you demos of the platform. At the moment, I'm still in Germany, but I'll be in Australia very, very soon. So I'll be on your time zone as well to support. Great. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining.
Thanks for organising, Danny, and panel.
No problem. Thanks, Megan and Alex.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye all.